Hi, I'm Michelle Cox, and this is my case study for school law. First, we need to build the background about the case study. Ms. Tate is a high school teacher. She works with zoology, botany, and genetics. She's highly qualified. She works with a fluid population of students, so they're getting their needs met. Their parents make some money or good money, and they can take care of their needs. The high school is the most prestigious school in the state. Principal Harvey has been there for 9 years, and he has also received Principal of the Year. What we know about Ms. Tate is that she likes structure. Her rigorous courses can cause high levels of stress. The principal has actually received numerous phone calls about her stringent expectations. We also know that Ms. Tate has been talked to about some different techniques to reduce stress and increase positive interactions with her students, but has not implemented any of those strategies yet. We know that parents and students continue to complain about class workload and poor instruction. So that builds our background. Now we're going to talk about the problem that occurred in the case study. The incident occurred on a 3-day weekend. It was a veterans holiday. It was an email message that was sent that was unidentified to Ms. Tate saying that she should go on a website called Facebook for a personal message. When she got to the website, the message included highly suggestive comments about her personal behavior and critical comments about the rigor of her class. One example that was given was, "Who wants Miss Tate to disappear?" Her reaction to this was that she called the principal in a panic. She even stated, "They've threatened to kill me, Dr. Smith." We know that she felt unsafe at her apartment due to the incident, and she even felt like maybe she should call the cops over the Facebook page. The principal's reaction was that he said, "Okay, calm down, let me read the email and get back to you in the Facebook message." So he did. He said, "I understand your concerns, but it might be a prank." He then went on to ask her, "Are there any students that might be unhappy with you? Was there any incidents last week that might have triggered this behavior?" Mrs. Tate's continued reaction to the principal was that she believed a student named William Hall might have made the message. What made her believe this is that he often makes snide comments to other students about her behind her back. She also thinks that William is clever and good with computers because a lot of kids help him with computers a lot. Therefore, she thinks he could have maybe made the Facebook page. The principal's reaction to this was that he said, "Let's print some hard copies of the email and Facebook page, talk about it in the morning. We'll speak with William and some of his friends to start with about the website and see who made it. Then, if we need to, we'll go to the district technologist to really determine where the email originated." So what we need to know is who created the email and the Facebook account. Was it a student, a staff member, or a parent? For this case, we're kind of assuming that it is a student. How? We need to know how many people are involved. Was it just one student? Was it a group of students? Was it maybe one of her whole classes making the email or making the Facebook message together? The biggest thing we need to know in my mind is why did they create the Facebook message? What was the antecedent? Every behavior has a reasoning behind it. Was the student upset because they got too much homework? Are they stressed about the amount of workload that she's given? Did Miss Tate maybe say or do something that really hurt that student? So we need to kind of think about not just getting mad at the student and blaming them for the Facebook message. We need to know the content behind the message. That's the what. How severe was the content on the page? It only gave us really one specific example of what it said, but I would want to know exactly what it said. What to severity is the bullying online? We also need to know what protocol there is for threatening a teacher or for bullying. We would look into the handbook for that. So, two big major problems that I noticed in this case study was, one, the first initial huge problem to deal with is the offensive comments on the Facebook page about the teacher. I feel that this is form of a bullying. We don't know to what extent because I can't see the content of the email and the Facebook message, but we need to know that we need to maybe consider it as a serious offense in the school setting. The second problem that I've identified is that Ms. Tate has not implemented any of the principal's techniques on how to reduce student stress and increase positive interactions with students. So those are the two major problems that I have identified. For dealing with part one of the problem, dealing with the incident, one, I'd want to find out who created the message. Then I would discuss with my superintendent to create a plan of action for dealing with it that also correlates with the board policy handbook. I wouldn't always want to go to my superintendent, but in this case, it sounds like the behavior was severe enough to get some higher up perspective to make sure that I'm really following the law and the policy handbook and that he agrees with what I'm doing, he or she. I would also then, the next step would be to talk with Ms. Tate about the protocol and what our plan of action is. I think she deserves that respect and that step. And then next, I would talk with the students and his or her parents about the protocol for the consequences for the behavior being displayed. I don't really want to, in my plan of action, put what I would specifically put for the consequence for the behavior just because of some lack of knowledge in the case study. Whatever consequences are given to the student, whether it's like he needs to stay after school and do some makeup work or do some community service time, if he needs to apologize to Miss Tate, maybe they need to work together on something. Whatever the consequences or plan of action we decide upon, I'd want to make sure that I'm following up through with everybody, communicating with everybody, and making sure that I'm supporting that follow through and being a part of that. Part two, dealing with Miss Tate. I would want to review some of the strategies that I talked about for reducing student stress and increasing positive interactions with students. One, I would just want to be like, hey, did you like those ideas? Do you not? Are they too much? But mostly I'd want to get her input on what strategies maybe she thinks she could try herself to help improve class morale. We would come up with a plan together. Some of that plan might include observing other teachers for ideas, people that in the school that are maybe very good at behaviors with their whole class, and just to get her some ideas on what maybe she could do differently in her class. We would develop a plan, and I would make sure that I give her time to implement the plan and to follow through with it. Appropriate strategies to implement my plan. I would follow protocol and appropriate steps. I would seek advice from my supervisors on major behavior issues. I would provide follow through with behaviors and support to do this. Maybe if I'm not the person supporting them, how can I get you the support that you need? What do we need to do? Who's involved? Making sure I'm keeping communication lines open throughout this whole process. I'd want to act as a team player when it comes to problem solving with Ms. Tate. I would want her to have ownership and feel heard. And then I would also want to make sure that I am solving all issues in the most professional and ethical manner as possible. I wouldn't want my biases to get the best of me. And I want to make sure that I'm always keeping the student's best interest at heart. Which takes us to our next slide. I kind of got wordy here, but basically with the highly suggestives and highly offensive language, I did feel like that was some sort of bullying. We don't know to what extent. In this case, if I was dealing with a bullying situation, is I would kind of think about some past scenarios and how I have dealt with those in the past, those similar situations. What did I learn from my past experiences not to do again? Or what did we do in the past that maybe could help us solve this problem? And then I would want to make sure that this is a learning opportunity for the students and staff members. I would want the consequences to not harm the student or make them feel in a way punished. I would want them to know that it's not acceptable behavior to put that stuff online. But I would want them to know that, hey, this is a time for you to change and learn from your behavior. Just as like we are learning about what maybe caused you to do this. What can we do to problem solve together? I would want to make it a time where we can learn to grow together through communication, maybe saying sorry to each other, and compromising with each other to make things better. I would want their relationship to hopefully smooth things over and to strengthen throughout this experience rather than hinder the relationship more than it already is. So that would be my goal of mine, is doing what's best for the students and doing what's best for the whole class altogether. What am I thinking, feeling, and valuing as I respond to this problem? I noticed when I was responding to this problem, I really saw myself seeing all viewpoints. I was seeing myself as being the student, as the teacher, as the parent, and trying to think about how they might feel in this situation. What might have caused them to do that? I was also thinking about my board policy on issues due to this class, because I realized there's laws for everything. And then I need to make sure that I'm abiding by the certain protocol and laws, even if I maybe don't always agree with it, but trying to be ethical when doing that. And then I also thought about my superintendent a lot, and what would they do in this scenario? What would be the best way to solve it? Some issues that are still unresolved or open to further investigation is 1, the Facebook message and the email, and 2, what might have occurred prior to the message being made, and 3, what behavior strategies and rapport building strategies could Ms. Tate be implementing to lessen the sense of tension in her classroom. So those are things that we're still trying to figure out. The last slide here is examples of acting with integrity, fairness, and an ethical manner. Ways that I felt like I acted with integrity during this is that I said I would seek out the school board policy handbook. I said I also would think of similar situations that have happened in the past to help me solve the problems. To be ethical, I would seek advice from my supervisors and higher up. I would keep all parties involved in mind during the problem-solving process, and I would want to follow the protocol to avoid more problems from occurring. I won't want to jump and talk to the student and say, you're going to do this, and this is what's happening, before I have talked to Ms. Tate and my supervisors. I would also follow through and to make sure future problems similar to this did not occur again. And how did I act fair? I feel like I problem solved with the student's best interest in mind. I also problem solved with the teacher in mind, and I problem solved with a mindset of improving the entire morale of the classroom. My steps included trying to follow up with Ms. Tate in the future so that it's not occurring. This same behavior with a different student or different groups of students is not happening again down the road. And that is my case study in a nutshell. Thank you for joining me and listening. Have a great day.